Steppenwolf Theater presents Windfall. This is the world premiere from Terrell Alvin McCraney, the Oscar award-winning writer of Moonlight. And Windfall, a Chicago father loses his child in an altercation with police and then is visited by three shady people who advise him take the city's cash settlement, move away, and forget it ever happened. As Steppenwolf describes it, this is an examination of how institutional power and cold hard cash are used to shape how we deal with grief and trauma. Performances of Windfall begin April 9th. Be one of the first to witness this world premiere production and get your tickets today at steppenwolf.org. I don't know about y'all, but I could do with a little rewind, a little look back, a little nostalgia right about now. And I can always go for some quality time with beautiful art. So it's a good thing the Other Art Fair is back in Chicago, April 9th through the 12th. This year's theme is Nostalgia Core. So you can find a curated selection of interactive artist-led projects that celebrate those memories that make us, a little misty-eyed. Support 115 plus independent artists and meet them in person at Artifact events in Ravenswood. Tickets start at just $20. Book them now at theotherartfair.com. Today on CityCast Chicago, it looks like we are definitely in for April showers. Luckily, we've got your guide to what's happening in Chicago this month, rain or shine. It's Wednesday, April 1st. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. I've got executive producer Simone Alicea in the building with me. Simone, good to have you back.
Hey, thanks, Jacoby.
We've also got freelance TV journalist Brandon Pope in the building. Y'all are going to be hearing from him all April long. Brandon, how you feeling, my friend?
Hey, it's good to be here, bro. I'm at the Online News Association conference, and it's Chicago's alive, man. We outside.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure I know a bunch of people in the room with you this week. We're glad to have you here. Every month, we like to talk about some of the stories what we're watching, some of the things we're most excited for, and we're going to start there. I'm looking out my window right now, and it's very rainy. I was really hopeful to talk about riding my bike all April, but it seems like I'm going to have to put the pause on that for a little bit. What are you looking forward to get your month started off right?
Well, for me, look, when I think April, I think being outside with my friends, and I think one of the best ways to do that is a good baseball game. And not just any baseball game. I know we got Cubs fans who listen, but I'm a White Sox supporter for sure. And opening day is April 2nd. Man, weather, hoping it's good, but even if it ain't, we're going to find a way to make it good. White Sox, to me, got the best beer selection. They got the best food selection. And whether they win or lose, you're going to have a good time. I've also noticed, and I have no scientific evidence to support this. But every time I go to a White Sox game, there is a fight somewhere. And if you are a person,
I think that's accurate. I think that's super accurate.
Yeah, so if you enjoy, a show next to the show, there's a fight there too.
And that's a good thing, because the Bulls season is winding down, no playoffs. The Blackhawks season is winding down, no playoffs, right? With the Hawks gone, at least there is some place you can go to see some people squabble up. I got out to a few White Sox games last year. I got out to a few thanks to you. You the only reason I'm ever sitting in a box at the White Sox game. Maybe we there to mentor some young journalists, or we there to just hang out. But
I need to take you on dates with me and say just that.
All right, so if you're not, but what if it's raining though, and you don't want to be outside at a Sox game or a Cubs game? Where are you gonna be this month?
Man, Expo Chicago, bruh. That big major art festival in Navy Pier. It's contemporary art, it's international art, and it's just if you're a person who enjoys just great visuals and vibing out, that is the place to be. Navy Pier for years has done a really great job of curating this event, especially pushing forward BIPOC creators and making sure that they are front and center. Also, you know me, I'm a movie guy. We got some film festivals happening throughout April. We actually have three major ones. You got Chicago Critics Film Festival.
Yep.
One of my favorites is the Latino Film Festival, and that one probably spans the longest. It goes from April 16th through April 27th. So you got a lot of time to kind of hop in and catch a movie. Then you got the Chicago Palestinian Film Festival, which obviously that takes on even greater significance when you think about everything the Palestinian community has gone through um, throughout, this month and this year. It kicks off April 11th with some really powerful stories, and I think the significance too of like the Palestinian Film Festival itself. Chicago, Cook County has one of the largest Palestinian communities in the
Hmm.
entire country. And so often that's an area of the world that is repressed when it comes to free speech. So oftentimes just getting a Palestinian film made and released and being able to be seen by people here in Chicago, that's a battle in itself. And so it's more than just like I'm gonna sit down and watch a movie. It's also like a real celebration of people finding liberation through the arts, literally. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, and that's an annual event too. It's not like this is new to
No,
Chicago
this is
this year. This
25th
is,
25th anniversary they're celebrating.
yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff. And they got some good stuff. The opening night for the Palestinian Film Festival is this great film called Traces of Home that I can't wait to check out. Um, it's already sold out, but you might be able to beg somebody for a ticket or maybe get a press pass or something. And then they have the Miracle at Gaza though. That's going to be a good one.
I was gonna say
Um,
that's on my list.
yeah, yeah, on April 12th. That one you'll see me there for sure. And the Latino film one as well is going to be a great time. But look, the movies we gonna rack them up. That's for
Hmm.
sure.
I'm constantly surprised at how many film festivals Chicago has. Actually,
Yeah.
like I feel like every week there's a new one opening up, especially in the spring.
And I feel like we don't get a lot of credit for kind of what film scene we have here anyway.
Hmm.
Third largest market in the country, and we still kind of come off as the underdog in so many ways. But you got more things filming here, more movies and TV shows, and so many more creatives coming from here, putting out some really incredible work. So yeah, Chicago, it's a major place to showcase these films and these great works.
Hmm.
We got Hollywood here too. We can make it work for you.
Right. Something I am looking forward to that this rain definitely symbolizes is it means at some point later this month, those tulips in Chicago are going to be coming out, the cherry blossoms. I look out my window right now, all of the trees is bucket naked, right? There's not a green around. So even throughout March, when we had those 60-degree days, that maybe a little 70-degree day, it still wasn't right springtime yet, right? You still didn't get the full color of Chicago. And so in honor of National Poetry Month, usually in these guides, January, February, March, I've been doing a little alliteration. But today I've got a haiku for you.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Tulips kiss the sun, cherry blossoms, moonlight dance, Chicago's blushing.
Did you write that?
Yes, I did.
Look
Yes, I
at
did.
you.
I wrote that down. That's
That was
something I'm looking forward to. I talk about
that was powerful. That was powerful, man. That was real powerful.
You don't- y'all know how much I love Chicago being the city of poets and poetry. And I talked about it earlier. I just got a brand new bike. Shout out Big City Bikes in Lincoln Park. And I've already done a couple of 20-mile rides on the lakefront. I will say the wind has been beating my
Yeah.
ass
That's no
You
in
say
joke.
20
March.
miles?
Just a little up and down, getting to the South Shore Cultural Center and then back to Museum Campus. Just a little up and down.
That's 10 there, 10 back. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
It's light work.
I like to. I'm excited to ride to softball in Logan Square in a few weeks. I'm excited to ride around the city, and the thing that really makes that ride worth it is seeing the flowers, seeing the trees coming to life, seeing people really be back outside enjoying themselves, and so that's really something I'm excited to do this month. And Simone, you also want to wax a little poetic about a symbol of better days ahead.
Yeah, I suppose since it's poetry month, if we wanted to get metaphorical here, something I'm not looking forward to the thing, but I'm looking forward to what the thing represents. And that is, today the CTA heat lamps are turned off for the season. There are no more heat lamps on the CTA platforms. Now, that obviously we know it's still rainy. It can still get cold. The lows are
Right.
going to low. You still got to bring that coat and stuff. But I love the optimism it represents when we turn the heat lamps off every season. It represents that we know the warmth is coming. We know it's going to get sunnier and warmer and that there are there's good things ahead, right? And so that's my little metaphor that I guess that I'm looking forward to in April.
I think a lot of us have had this experience where you're walking around Chicago and you see this really amazing building. Maybe it's a beautiful old church or a random castle in the middle of a neighborhood or tower you've only ever seen in skyline pics, and you think to yourself, I wonder what the story is there. Instead of just walking on by, go ahead and book a walking tour with the Chicago Architecture Center. Their tours are rated as some of the best in Chicago, and the Architecture Center offers more than 70 docent-led walking tours exploring downtown, different neighborhoods, even cemeteries around the city. You could explore historic Austin or learn more about Chicago women in architecture, or finally learn how to get around the Pedway. I was just down there myself. All while Chicago storytellers and experts tell you the stories behind the buildings and the people who built them. Walking tours start at just $15, y'all. Visit architecture.org/tours or call 312-922-TOUR or head to the center's riverfront location at 111 East Wacker. With all this up and down weather we've been having, how are your windows holding up? If you're worried about leaks during all the rain, or you're having trouble opening your windows on those few sunny days, or I don't know, maybe the wind is getting in and all your heat is getting out, it might be time to get you some new ones. Luckily, Window Nation has a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. You can save 50% on all the windows for your crib, plus get them with 0% interest financing for 5 years. Window Nation measures 3 times to ensure a perfect fit, and crews are in and out within a day. Get the energy-efficient windows you need to protect your home in the style that you want. But don't wait, because the sale ends soon. Schedule a fast, free consultation now at windownation.com.
Y'all are so poetic today. Gosh, I got to step my game up. Y'all are some artsy folks.
You're going to really love this transition then from springtime to Springfield. Simone, what's the story you are watching this month?
Yeah, well, we are in the home stretch of the legislative session in Springfield, the General Assembly. That session ends at the end of May. So, we've got a couple months, but, basically right now the lawmakers are basically in like an Easter break. And so at the end of March, there were a bunch of deadlines to get bills out of committee. And, we've talked about a lot of these on the show over the past few months. Some of the big ones we're still watching. The Bears tax bill. Lawmakers are still trying to come together on a deal to keep the Bears in Arlington Heights, keep them from moving to Indiana, and, create some kind of tax breaks to do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're optimistic. There's going to be a deal. Can you tell how excited I am about the story right now? But, I think for that one, it's kind of one of those things that like I am more watching just because if it doesn't happen, I think the consequences will be really huge. And I think there will be something going on there.
Cam Buckner seems confident that they'll get it across the goal line. And
Pritzker too, earlier in the session, was sort of like, okay, we're finally ready to
not Pope with the face. He's like, of course he's supposed to say that. That's his job. But I don't know if I agree with that. We've been talking about this for years.
I don't know about y'all. I just want them to wrap this stadium stuff up.
Right. Well, remember how long it took them to fund to recreate the public transit funding, right? To bail out public transit.
Way too long.
Yeah. And we were sitting there every week being like, oh, so are they going to do it today? That's kind of what's going on with the Bears. Like, yes, it's probably going to happen, but they got to go through the process. It's a process. So that's one thing we're going to be watching. One thing that is, I think, especially interesting for those of us in Chicago as well is legislation around the sub-minimum wage. That's the wage for tipped workers, which historically is lower than the regular minimum wage. In Chicago, we passed an ordinance that would raise that sub-minimum wage gradually until it met the regular minimum wage. Of course, alders had passed an ordinance to pause those increases, which Mayor Johnson then vetoed, right? Well, in Springfield, there is a bill under debate that is being pushed by the restaurant lobby that would essentially give the state power to preempt those kinds of local rules that says actually cities, you can't regulate these this sub minimum wage, and that's actually going to be a state thing. And we're not ready yet or not planning to raise that sub minimum wage. There are a lot of questions as to like how this would work legally, if it would work retroactively. It's definitely not a sure thing to pass, but it is something that is being pushed. And I think something to watch as we sort of look at the power dynamics between the state and the city on this issue that is clearly causing a lot of friction.
That is just a fascinating dilemma that I think both sides are kind of faced with here. Mayor Brandon Johnson obviously pushing for this heavy and claiming that he's doing this because Black and brown women tend to be the lion's share of those tipped workers, and is hoping to, bolster their pockets. But then people I've talked with, including owners of different businesses across the south side of Chicago, say that this tip minimum wage issue would actually hurt their servers and have them earning less money, and actually hurt the restaurant in the process at a time where restaurants are struggling. I'm not sure Springfield's going to be able to do much on it and intervene. But this issue, it's like one of the more layered issues that we've had in Chicago in a while, where I think both sides of the debate have some real emotion and some real merit going on.
I think it's interesting because I remember when it first passed, I had a lot of friends in the service industry who really didn't like it. They were like, I want to keep my tips, right?
Exactly.
But it's interesting because then you also talk to back of house staff who talk about how it creates wage disparities between front of house and back of house staff in restaurants, right? Because it's all sort of up to the way things get tipped out is sort of up to individual restaurants. And, there's all kinds of stuff. And I think it's interesting because on an intellectual level, I sort of see like raising your base pay is almost always going to net you more money than relying on a cultural norm to, make up the difference, right? Restaurants are supposed to pay the difference for tipped wage workers, but again, it's just a thing that's like a bit difficult to track and enforce in a way that setting a minimum wage floor is much easier, right? It's when you know what that base floor is, you know exactly how much everyone's making and kind of what the distribution of that funding is. So I agree. It's kind of interesting. And it's interesting too, the way individual workers sort of interpret or see how it's going to affect their individual pay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I understand how layered it is, but I do agree with the mayor's sentiment that it feels tone deaf, especially coming off of the election when affordability was what every candidate was speaking to. And again, they took this vote less than 3 years ago and overwhelmingly voted in favor of it. I don't know. It felt like it missed the mark for me of all the things we could be voting on right now, suspending people's wage increases while some restaurants had already instituted new systems. Like it just felt like it leaves us in more of a confusing place.
Well, it's confusing for the consumer too. We're already debating how much do you tip now,
Mm-hmm.
right? What are the new tipping customs in this new world order? And I think it only leads to more confusion there too.
And kind of zooming out here a little bit too, like it just represents this growing kind of division within our Chicago politics between this kind of corporate caucus that's forming within city council. I know some of them don't like that term, corporate caucus, but often situations like this is why they get that label. And so that wing of kind of like Chicago politicians versus the more traditional labor rights, pro-worker side of Chicago.
You talk about the ways this is representing a schism between the mayor's office and City Hall, or the mayor's office and City Council, right? The mayor has had to use his veto power 3 times in the last year. Yeah. One of them around City Council's continued attempts to instill a new curfew. Brandon, just in the last week or so, we saw, a bunch of teens outside again. Spring break is here. And so we are back again to having this conversation of what's going to happen in City Council. Will they come up with another snap teen curfew? Will the mayor have to use his veto powers again? Where are we at right now?
Yeah, Alderman Brian Hawkins already asking to bring that snap curfew ordinance back up for a vote because we just had our first what they call teen takeovers. They're really called teen trends. 8 were arrested last Wednesday in the first one, and there's already been talks about others that are starting to form up. And the way they form, it's really organic. It's youth focused. They make a flyer and they share it out and they
Yeah,
spread
but
it
instead of
amongst.
going to the rink, they going to the neighborhood, or they going to the
Exactly.
beach, or they going to the loop.
Well, it's like you
Exactly.
imagine those like all those like 2000s comedies, teen comedies where they make a
Hmm.
flyer about party at so and so's house, right? And they drop the
Yes.
I think in 10 Things I Hate About You, right? Where they drop the flyers like it's almost that but in the digital age and out in a public space as opposed to somebody's house where the parents aren't home.
Yeah. And so it's been fascinating to me because it really centers in on this conversation we have in the city and that I think Mayor Johnson really put front and center for a lot of people in opportunities for youth and the disparities going on within the city. When I talk to these youth that are doing the teen trends, I had the pleasure of actually talking with a young man. I'll protect his privacy here, but he claims that he's one of the main organizers of these teen trends. I asked him, why? What y'all trying to do? He's like, I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Pope. I hate being called Mr. Pope. That's what he said. Mr. Pope, he said, uh, we do it for 2 reasons: to kick it and meet some baddies. And he
Yeah.
said the intent is never for nothing to pop off. I don't do it for nothing to pop off. I'm not trying to see nobody hurt. He's like, but that's what happens. I don't want it to happen. He's like, and I'd like for anything that can be done to make sure it doesn't happen to happen. But like the issue they're having here is they don't feel like the things that have been provided by the mayor's office, like nighttime basketball leagues and things like that, are cool. They don't find those things to be things they actually want to do. They, like you said, they want an open space
They ain't
to hang
trying to do
out,
dancing
to
in the
dance.
park. They're not trying to go
Yeah,
to the U Media Center at the library necessarily. I mean, a lot of them are, but for
yeah.
some, that's not what they're trying to do.
They try to have fun, dance, and hit on each other, and young love, young love.
Well, so I'm curious, did they offer any sort of ideas as to like how to potentially
Yeah.
prevent violence from breaking out?
Yeah, here's the idea that was given to me, and it seems like a pretty interesting one. I don't know how it would be structured, but he's like, "Look, open up Jackson Park and just let us do a Jackson Park festival and like have it be youth focused, youth centered. Obviously, you need like some sort of police presence, but he's like, if you just let us have an open park space and just keep us there, he's like, that's all we need. We just need open spaces to be and enjoy life. And they don't feel like they have that on the south side and west side and a lot of the communities they have. That's why they come out to the centers of the city where people come to have fun, downtown, Navy Pier, and places like that.
Not to sound like an old head, but why aren't the current ones being planned in Jackson Park and Washington Park, right? Like, because obviously right now it's not about permission. It's not
Hmm.
about
Yeah.
like we can just do them where we want to do them. And so I know some have been on 31st Street Beach and they've gotten a
Yeah.
promontory, but some of them, like I just saw some videos from in the middle of Hyde Park.
The main thing is, and he put it very plainly. He said, either way, we gonna do what we do.
I
He's
do
like, so you can,
understand that.
I
I
love him.
mean, yeah, again, from the
I love
beginning
him.
of time,
Mhm.
kids, what John Hughes made his entire filmography
I
on this exact premise, but with white kids.
I
Like,
was going to say a lot of this is like these kids is worse than those kids, and these kids. It doesn't matter what generation of TV you watch. That same conversation was happening, but with social media, like and the type of things kids have access to now. The fact that in those when you getting hundreds, maybe 1,000 kids together, the likelihood there is a gun in that
that's the
crowd,
thing. And
like
when you
it's
say,
Yeah.
we know. I know that's the scary part
Hmm.
for a lot of parents and for a lot of the young people as well. It's like we're not
Yeah.
coming out here to be on anything crazy, but the likelihood in 2026 that people is pulled up in that group is almost like it's guaranteed.
Yeah, and frankly, once you complicate things with drug usage and alcohol usage, which we talked about as well between me and him, that also inflames emotions and tensions and things like that too. I think it's important to also just remind people that like this is an issue that Chicago is facing, but it's not a uniquely Chicago problem. These are happening all over the country. You had one go down in Jacksonville, Florida. You have one in nearby Milwaukee. You have one in Arizona. Like it's happening a little bit everywhere. So a lot of cities are wrestling with how do we create safe spaces for our young people to exist and be and enjoy life and each other without things popping off. The city of Chicago, though, for us, that history of disparity and segregation and lack of resources, all of that really adds layers to the conversation because that really is the root cause of why these things are even happening to begin with.
Well, and I think the access, Jacoby, to your point, the access to weapons really can't
Yeah.
be overstated here because and Pope, I don't know if you talked about this, but as I understand, right, the conflicts that are popping off that end up turning violent tend to be interpersonal conflicts.
You get all those people together, the likelihood that
Either someone said something to somebody or somebody was hitting on somebody else's girl or whatever, right?
Well, we already got beef,
or you already have beef,
here.
and we happen to run into each other. And I think what makes those conflicts deadly is the presence of a weapon, and so the access to those weapons. It's not even necessarily because I always want to be really clear, like. Sometimes I think there's this instinct to be like, oh, it's quote unquote gang beef or like gang violence, which even if there are gang affiliations in this crowd, which isn't absolutely not necessarily the case, but even if there are, the actual inciting conflict is most of the time it's a personal conflict where weapons escalate the situation, right? And like that is a very difficult variable to solve for in a city like Chicago, where it is commonplace to find weapons and to have them for many, many people in the city.
Yeah.
But to be clear, I don't necessarily think curfews solves for that problem. And so I do think we have to continue to have a more nuanced conversation. And I appreciate in your case, Brandon, that you are directly talking to young people. Before we get out of here, I want to get what's y'all best tip for April, Simone?
Okay. This might be a hot take, but I say don't go to the dispensary on 420. Or even really over 420 weekend. April 20th is on a Monday. And I think you can still get most of the best deals, get your supply, like absolutely stock up in the weeks leading up to 420. But I don't know, Jacoby, like I sometimes will drive past Dispensary 33 on Clark and on 420 and I will see those lines and I'm like, there's no point in this. What? The deals are in place for a long time. You don't have to be there on the day.
I disagree. I think the deals be dealing on the day and the day before. My spot up the street, they make it a whole game day raffle carnival vibe. And yes, the line is long, but the community, Simone, I'm not going to reject the opportunity to be with my fellow smokers. Right. To learn some tips and tricks. What you smoking on today? How you spending your 420? Like, you got a plug outside of this. I think there's a lot of ways that dispensaries have made 420 a little more attractive, a little more worth dealing with the line. And this idea that I could stock up weeks in advance, like I don't know what that means. If I have it, it's going to be gone. And so by the time 420 roll around, I got to go back to the store anyway. So I wish I was the kind of person who could, bring a whole bunch of cookies in the crib and not smash them.
I absolutely, yeah. I don't. That seems like I don't. I am not that way. I like to have it like squirreled away in places. Break glass in case of emergency. That tends.
I'm like Simone. I like to have a stash.
Yeah.
I don't want to be waiting in no line. I don't like lines. I'm very allergic.
Yes.
And also 420 is for the events. It's for the it's a mix of both with you. I want to have my stuff already and I want to be able to be in community with people around it at the same time, right? So it for me, I want to have it already.
I would say go early, if anything. Most of them open up on special hours. I'm all for stocking up. I'm all for being prepared. But the idea that like it's on a Monday, so the idea that I will like if the 420 weekend is Friday, that like something I got on Tuesday or Wednesday was scheduled for that weekend, that's just not me, y'all.
I forgot 420. Like I mean, mark this in my calendar.
Yeah. Well, and like I even get the concept of the carnival. Again, Dispensary 33 does this. They do a big thing at Pizza Lobo. But I think the other like insidious trick about that is I think I would think that you'll probably spend more money at an event like that than you would have if you just gone to the dispensary and picked up what you wanted to do. And like I would rather just have my stuff and go to the lake with my friends and smoke than like participate in this, we gotta buy more stuff or I gotta wait in line. I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, this overly corporate holiday, and this site of hellacious taxation. I completely understand. If I was a better planner, maybe, but I've softened. When we first started the podcast, I was anti dispensary. I was like, no, I'm supporting local small businesses. I'm supporting the plug. But I will say their response time has waned in the intervening years, and my proximity to a dispensary has only gotten better. And so
the prices have gotten better too, a little bit. There's still Illinois still has some of the highest prices for legal weed.
They still be wilding.
We ain't Cali yet. We ain't Colorado.
Well, I mean, maybe a better tip is go to Michigan. Like maybe that's a better tip for 420. It's like go take a road trip.
Every couple of months, I got somebody, my brother, somebody's making the trip, and I'm always grateful. But I get where you're coming from. Like, if you can avoid the lines, avoid them. But I will say, find you a place that make the deals worth it, and a little 20-minute line will do you well. Last 420, they had gift boxes that if for any purchase, you got a chance to win a gift box. They had like $5,000 worth of like weed, gum, like a whole bunch of stuff,
like
paraphernalia.
Raffle?
Yeah, it was like a raffle. No, but they were giving out like 42 of them or something. It was like 420 themed. And so there was a lot of opportunity to win.
Did you win one?
I didn't win one of the big ones, but I did win something. I won like a little baggie that had about $100 worth of stuff in it. And so, hey, I'm just saying, try your luck. Try your luck. We can't all win the Powerball. For the rest of us, we are going to be here managing the street sweeping schedule because it is officially back. And as most of y'all know, it is the bane of my existence. Even though I'm not driving always, I consistently, year after year, find a way to get a ticket for not only parking violations, which I just got one the other day for $100 for not moving my car early enough. And it was on it, but I always find a way to get a street sweeping ticket. I've even been towed in recent years for not moving the car early enough. And so a reminder, fines $50 to $60. Usually those bright orange no parking signs are out there. If there isn't permanent signing, you can look up the ward by ward schedule, track them in real time. But just remember, this first day, it ain't no April Fool's joke. They will treat you like a goofy. They give out a ton of tickets.
Hundreds of tickets.
And they love it. This city needs the money, y'all. If you don't remember anything from these budget fights, remember they cash strap. They need this money, and so they are coming for it. And so move your car, double check where you park, and remember this lasts all the way through November. So this is a part of your life for the foreseeable future
until the snow parking ban is back in effect, right?
Whoop-de-doo.
There's never a break.
There's never a break. Jacoby, I'm curious. Do you actually look at the ward by ward schedule for street sweeping, and are you planning your life around it?
I do look at it.
Okay.
Do I remember it after I close the page? Do I write it down? Do I put it on my calendar? No, but maybe saying this out. I said this last year, and did I do it? No. I think I'm gonna be on the bike more times than not this month. And so if you see me out here riding a bike with a little Grasshopper Club red baggie, just look away. Just mind your business. Mind your business. Throw me a nod, mind your business. I am riding dirty on that bike.
Speaking of bikes, fun fact, I cannot ride a bike.
What?
I will learn one day. But
You on the scooter gang and you can't ride a bike?
I'm pro scooters. I'm anti bikes. I gave up as a kid. I fell too many times, and I just said, you know what, cut it.
The city of Chicago does bike lessons.
I have heard.
We did a podcast about it
We
years
did-
ago. It was really
did
fun.
Also,
episode.
but Simone, you also know the bigger they are, the harder they fall. I'm at a point now where a fall off a bike could be a devastating injury.
But you probably have a lot more core control than you did as a child.
I'd hope so. I don't know if I want to test it.
Check the street sweeping schedule. Lock your bikes up if you're outside, but most importantly, get outside, whether it's raining, whether the sun is out. It's so much to do in April. I want to give a huge thank you to our guest today, executive producer Simone Alicea.
Hey, thanks, Jacoby.
And the homie Brandon. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Yes, sir. Always love it.
Some good news. Mark your calendars for next Friday, April 10th, when Windy City Tales, the first ever solo exhibition from Chicago artist Lo Marie, is premiering at the Elephant Room Gallery. It's running all month long, my friends. I will say, because I'm plugged, I got an early preview and I did already purchase one of the best. So when you see the sold sign in the gallery, just know.
Does it have a little sticker?
Yes. Too slow. The work is so beautiful, y'all. I've been watching her develop her style of collage over the last decade, and I'm so proud of her. I'm so excited. If I wasn't in Milwaukee seeing Men I Trust, I would be there all night long. Also, I want to give a shout out to Alex, who texted us this week, who said, love this morning's story on the Illini's run to the Final Four, but don't sleep on them Redbirds at Illinois State. They are in the NIT Final Four playing Auburn on Thursday. I will be locked in. I appreciate you for letting me know, Alex. You did not have to add this last bit. What's Bradley been up to? Again, what's going on? I got a ton of friends who went to ISU. One of my best friends, Denisha, went to school since the 4th grade, graduated from me. I got a lot of love for y'all. That was an unnecessary shot. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. If you love the work we're doing over here, head over to membership.citycast.fm and become a CityCast Chicago neighbor. I'll talk to you bright and early tomorrow. Peace.
I just saw my calendar here. I'm going to be in California on 420.
Well.
My God.
Oh boy,
This dude. His calendar's so packed. Not only did he say he forgot 420, he forgot he was going to be in California, of all places, while we over here talking about rainy days.